Welcome, friends. It's time to elevate and thrive. This is Barry Napier, your host, along with my co-host, Dr. Angela Yeagley. Welcome to the show.
Oh, absolutely. So great to be here.
So great to be here. And today we want to talk about metabolism in food as it relates to both chronic dieting and intentional eating.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so one of the things, because we see this all the time with patients, right? Typically, it's very common. People want to lose weight.
Yes, always. It seems like always.
It seems
it's a
like
really
always.
common goal for a lot of people, which to me makes sense given just kind of our American lifestyle of eating. I think about, we're going to get into some really interesting eating styles, and just different ways people approach this. But I think about how people, for instance, eat in Europe, which isn't quite getting into like what we're talking about, but does kind of tie in with metabolism. Like they're, it's whole foods, it's like non-GMO, it's portion control, all because things are very expensive.
And
So
small, the
it's easy.
plates
And
are
small.
smaller. It's just
Plates are
very interesting.
small,
Everything's
yes.
smaller there.
Everything's
Yeah.
smaller, yes.
Including
yeah.
waistlines.
Including waistlines.
And more
yes.
just daily activity. That's the thing.
Yeah.
When I look at my step count now, every day I try to hit 10,000 steps, and I'm somewhere usually between 6,000 on the low day and on a high day maybe 12,000. But when you're in Europe, you can easily hit 20,000 steps like almost every day.
Yeah,
easy. Just walking.
You walk everywhere, yeah.
So much more walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we do. Most people want to lose weight.
Yeah.
And when we look at that as adults, it's very common for people to go through many, many, many different diets.
Very common. Yeah.
And lose weight.
Yeah.
And gain that weight back.
And gain the weight back, yeah.
Yeah, over and over again. It's really frustrating. But yeah, and that has an impact on metabolism. So it's interesting because when we look at the body and we think about metabolism, we don't often think about this concept of TDEE, right? Total daily energy expenditure. But each of us, based on our body composition, how much lean muscle mass we have, how much fat, whatever, we use energy, right? Even if we're not active.
Right.
We're just sitting around, we use energy. And then depending on what kind of fitness that we do and what kind of activity we do in our work and all that kind of stuff, that all kind of builds into this total daily energy expenditure, TDEE, right? And that's really, for most people, where their kind of baseline food consumption could be at, theoretically, right? So let's say as an adult man, I might be at, say, 2,500 calories in TDEE, right, on average. So theoretically, I should be able to eat 2,500 calories and really just be at a net.
Yes.
With no weight gain.
Right.
Yeah, no increase in fat. Because let's talk about maybe the basics of fat building.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So what is fat really?
It's conversion, many times we tend to gain fat actually from the conversion of carbs and sugar, usually will more readily make fat actually compared to actually fat.
At the end of the day, though, it's energy. It's excess energy.
I see what you're saying.
That's really
Excess
what
energy.
I think. When I look at fat, I think about it as a battery.
Like having it,
your
stores of fat.
Yeah, it's stores of fat. Yeah, our stores of fat. So when when we look in the mirror, we see our fat, it disgusts us, we hate it. But, really, it's just like stored energy. That's kind of what it is. Yeah, it's like our battery pack. Okay,
Right,
fat's a battery pack. And so when we bring in more food than we use, it ends up going into the battery pack, aka your adipose tissue, your fat tissue, right? And so you can eat a lot of fat and still get fat. You can eat a lot too many carbs and too much fat and get fat. You can eat just a lot of carbs and get fat. All this. But all of it happens in this place where it's excess energy.
Correct.
Fundamentally. Now, there are other factors, right? There are a lot of other factors. There's other things. There's all kinds of stuff. So not in every case is we gain weight because we're overeating or we're underactive. But oftentimes that's actually that is kind of what the basis of it, just from an energy model.
Yes.
Just most simplistic form.
Yes.
Okay. But that's where things get interesting, because our body is very adaptive. Right. So when we're chronic dieting, when we go through all these diets and our food gets really, really low, because generally what happens is most diets in some form or another take food away or restrict food or restrict eating windows.
Yes.
They do restrictions.
Yes.
Diet is restrictive.
Yes.
Almost every single one of them.
Well,
Don't do this. Don't do this.
That's true. And a lot of times, we might, as a naturopathic doctor, I might think of, there is a healthier way to restrict, like if we're framing it that way, like you're doing Whole30, right? You're restricting, but we think of it as, oh, you're not getting any of these additional just kind of empty sugars, or, you're not getting the most processed carbs, so I would still recommend that, but I totally understand what you're saying. You're still usually, most people that are coming in many times beyond just getting healthy, the reason that they're doing it is because they want to lose weight, or, like that's the goal, right? So I think what's really interesting, what we're talking about, because this to me is just so fascinating, about being able to get your body to a place where you do not have to worry, or not worry, maybe that's not the right word, but like your concern isn't always restricting.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. Because the thing is, when we restrict, oftentimes what happens is over time, we lower our body's ability to handle food. So we eat less, and at certain points then, when we start to eat more, when we come off that diet, or we lose some discipline or focus, or, whatever, we move out of that restrictive mode, we then tend to gain that weight back.
Right.
And then we think eating more food equals weight gain.
Right.
But what's really interesting, and what I've just personally am going through this right now is,
which I love. To me is so fascinating.
I went through a cycle last year where I worked with a macro coach very successfully, lost about 25 pounds, cut my food down till I think at the low point I was eating about 1,500 calories, and then worked my food up till I was eating about 1,800, 1,900 calories.
Which seems small.
But
Yeah.
that seemed like I was. I mean, 2,000 calories seemed like 1,900 calories. I was like, I could never eat more food than this. This is so much food. Oh my God. So then anyways, and and then kind of life happened, and I gained 1,500 pounds back or so, whatever. And then just recently I was like, okay, I'm ready to do new focus, but I'm ready for something different than that just same old kind of diet loop thing. And I really was more interested in, I wanted to kind of go through a gaining phase, a muscle building phase. Because over the last couple of years, workouts less consistent, access to gym, I feel like I lost some muscle mass, and I really wanted to gain that muscle mass back. And there's a lot of reasons to go for muscle, both for men and women.
Oh, absolutely.
Muscle, in like a lot of, specifically, oftentimes women are scared when you start talking about gaining muscle. They think they're going to turn into bodybuilders or something and be all like She-Hulk.
True. I think that's true. I think a lot of women do not, they feel like it's not feminine.
Oh, yeah, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Because what often when you look at an ideal, like a beauty standard, an ideal, or like maybe a aspirationally possible kind of body goal or look, they're almost always what people are attracted to. They're almost always attracted to
usually fit people.
Fit people. Muscle is attractive. Not too much muscle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not your thing, right? But that's really hard to do. Yeah. But muscle. So I'm in this muscle gaining phase, and now I'm eating more food than I've ever eaten before. So I am now eating on average between 2,400 to 2,600 calories, and I even have a day of the week where I eat just about 3,000 calories.
Which when you lay it out and you explain it,
how much food this is.
Yeah, and I do think we have to really make the point that you're eating whole foods compared to, like, you could get a Big Mac at
you could get a Big Mac and a giant Coke.
Oh, it's
extra
gonna be
large,
1,500 calories.
And that's 2,000, 2,300 calories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can listen. There's people who eat way more than that. And if you're eating a lot of processed foods, nutrient dense food,
very easy to get that much.
Sure is. Yeah. But when you're eating like real foods, it's the most food you could ever imagine.
Right. That's right.
Okay. So
yeah, I think you need to explain to us.
I'm gonna take you through on what just a regular. I'm not even going to try and explain a super day to you where it's 3,000 calories. I'm going to take you through like 2,600 calorie day. So you have to, first of all, when you're eating real food and you're trying to hit those kinds of numbers, you have to be very intentional. You have to plan it all out. Otherwise, it's impossible for it to happen. You cannot do it.
How would you know?
You wouldn't know. But even if you just were like going off of intuitive eating or body cues or mindfulness or something,
or just like you're like, I'm used to
this is what I eat. Yeah. Like so, for instance, I would normally, before I was on this kind of plan, have like a yogurt, some handful of berries in there, and maybe I'd have like a protein shake with almond milk and a scoop of protein powder, and maybe a couple chunks of frozen banana. Okay, that little breakfast right there, that's like that's like a 300 or 400 calorie breakfast. Yeah. Okay, that's like a joke. That's like I start with that, and then I go for my main breakfast, which these days for breakfast I eat about 1,000 calories, and here's how it breaks down. First of all, you cannot get there if you don't have some kind of a bread type product or some kind of a carb, a more nutrient dense carb. Because like if you're trying to get there with like potatoes and sweet potatoes, it's not going to happen. I eat for dinner 300 grams of potatoes. Now you're like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
Just imagine a huge mound, like a skyscraper of potatoes on your plate that spills over.
I don't know if I want to.
It's a lot of potatoes. And I love potatoes, but when you're eating real food, like it's hard to get, because my goals, I'm trying to get like certain macronutrient goals, right? So you take all food, all can be broken into proteins, fats, and carbs. Now I try to hit 175 grams of protein every day, regardless. And then my carbs are usually, let's say they're around 320 carbs right now. And then 80 to 90 fats a day, grams of fat. So this is grams. So you weigh all your food out. And so for breakfast, to get there, I do stick with the yogurt. I have a yogurt, 100 grams of berries. That's like my little starter breakfast. I get started. Then I have a coffee with 3 tablespoons of half and half. I'm a creamy coffee guy. I like to have. Yep.
Yeah.
Then I go into 2 eggs with 6 egg whites, okay, and 6 slices of Canadian bacon, and like a cup of mushrooms, and all that turns into a scramble. And I put that on top of 2 sourdough English muffins.
It seems
2 sourdough English muffins.
Yes.
So that's 4 single English muffins that I then also smash half an avocado onto.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's breakfast.
So I think what we need to talk about, because, where you and I were kind of going, because this to me is like, wow, to have like a diet, I don't even want to call it a diet, eating style, like an eating style where, because so many things are restrictive, like this is, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Oftentimes it's like, I'm going to have to eat some ice cream tonight.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, for real, I have to eat ice cream tonight. It's like, oh my God, I'm not going to get there if I don't drink a couple glasses of wine. I mean, it's legit. It's like hard to eat the food without, I have a bag of Reese's Cups and M&Ms and Oreo cookies to like fill in. And now I'm not living on those, but I can't get there if I don't have some cookies. I ordered all these Girl Scout cookies. So I'm pumped.
So, but to me, what's fascinating. To me, this is so fascinating that you haven't really gained weight.
Listen, when I started this, I said I will allow myself to gain 15 pounds of fat. I was just like, I'm going to try it. I've never done it. It's terrifying.
And the goal was to like speed up your metabolism.
The goal was to rebuild my metabolic state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, as a man, 200-pound man, like 205 pounds, 170, pounds of lean muscle, 175 pounds of lean muscle. Without question, if you looked at my food consumption, I was chronically under-eating on these diets.
I would say
chronically under-eating, right? And so like that starts to catch up with you.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways, hormone function, soreness, recovery, aches, pains, sickness, energy, mental fatigue, mental state, mood, all of it, right? When you chronically undereat. And so for the first time ever in my life, I'm like eating at my TDD and just slightly above, and I'm working out. I work out 5 days a week, 6 days a week. I'm lifting a lot of weights. And what's amazing, is as I really haven't gained, I gained like 3 pounds, and as my weight's stabilized now. And so
incredible. Now
it just floats between like 206 and 208. That's where it just floats with all of this food that I'm eating. And the food has continued to go up. And so like every 2 weeks, it kind of creeps up a little bit. I add more food in. And it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the adaptability of the body. And it was really scary, and it's uncomfortable to be in a position where you're eating a lot of food, more food than you've ever eaten before, and your weight does go up some. Yeah. But what's crazy is it doesn't continue just to go up.
That to me, it blows my mind, because to me that is just it's fascinating, because it is a completely different way of looking at like kind of reaching your goal of, again, I have a question for you. Could you do this without working out and like have it be successful, do you think? As far as
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. I don't think you would be as I do. There is a factor of activity level. However, I'm generally just lifting weights right now and doing like a cardio session, like a short run or bike, like a 45-minute run or a 45-minute bike on the Peloton. One. And I'm just lifting for like 60 to 80 minutes 5 days a week. So Could you, if you just pulled that out, that lifting out, and if you're just walking, yeah, absolutely. Or if you were into like pickleball, or I mean, some of these like kind of recreational sports that people get into are actually quite active and burn like a lot of calories. But yeah, I mean, always the food's going to be dialed into kind of your like, you know, whatever that range will be. Because there is a range where, I mean, if I ate 6,000 calories, then I would for sure I would gain weight. But yeah, you can do it without being as active. But I think also too, when you're in this state of intentional, you know, where you're intentionally feeding your body at its like energy level or slightly above, usually it's going to correlate too with some other fitness goals.
Yeah.
You know,
usually,
with recovery or being able to fuel and push yourself, because with that extra, with like the food now and being really like kind of from a cellular standpoint, right?
Yeah.
All those muscles now have lots of fuel. They have lots of carbs, lots of glucose. You have muscle building. There's all this protein for protein turnover to happen and protein synthesis, and I can tear those muscles down and rebuild them back up. It behooves me to like push myself harder.
Yes.
Because I can.
Yes.
It's easier. What's interesting, it's easier to push harder.
You know where I find this to be interesting is that when thinking about my patients, right? Because again, a lot of people come in wanting to lose weight. That's kind of their goal, right? So, but I could see this, like say we take people through a keto or paleo or like a macro, right? What do you call that with Sarah? Like
macro.
Macro.
I just get called macros. Yeah.
Okay. But then after that is done, like I feel, and they're at their goal weight, you know,
absolutely.
I feel like this could be an amazing way, because you're right.
100%.
Where I find is that people, and I recommend many times, like, okay, you're not really moving, you're not doing these things. So this calorie count with your activity level is and usually it's pretty low, you know, like it's on the lower end, right? You're going to have to stay there. And I think you and I were talking about this too, about, I found myself, like I'm a naturally thin person, right? I just always am kind of in this place, you know, and, but you know, I fluctuate too. Like I can definitely, if I gain weight, usually it's going to be fat, you know, and so I started intermittent fasting, and I'm like, I feel good as far as my weight goes, you know, but I started noticing that like I have no appetite. Like my appetite just, you know, I could go for a long time, which I mean, I know the benefits of intermittent fasting, but after a while, to me, it actually started to become concerning, just because I'm like, I should want to eat food, right? Compared to like not caring if I eat, which that's not good. That's never healthy, and that's not good. I mean, of course I would eat, like I would eat food, but like it's like your body adapts. What's so fascinating, it adapts on either end, right? So you can go down that intermittent fasting, which is awesome, and I've done that in the past, and I've loved it. But I think, you can get used to, in your body, downshifts metabolically. Yeah. Like, so I can go on a day, even though I eat whole foods and I feel like I eat healthy and I'm having vegetables and I eat avocado and do all of that. But, and, you know, I'll eat, of course, and I feel like what's normal, but I'm actually not even really hungry when I'm eating. And to me, that was like a flag of like, this is not good. You know, I need to be at least somewhat hungry. And so I'm actually now, every day I'm bumping up my calories intentionally.
That's great. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because the first week that I kind of made the leap, and I was, again, I was at 1,800 calories, and I jumped to eating like 2,500 calories a day. I mean, it's significant.
Yeah,
like,
that's significant.
Yeah, that's a huge 500, 600, 700 calorie increase.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot more food. But your body gets used to it.
Right.
So now I like all this food.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, God, I know I want to keep eating more food. I want more. Now like, give me more. I'm ready for more food, I think, this week. I'm going to eat even more.
Change the variety or something.
No, I mean, what's cool with when you have a lot of food is you have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to diet and restriction, that's oftentimes why it's hard to stick with it over the long term, because you just feel like, that's the thing I've always loved about macros, is that you can kind of fit in, you know, what you want to fit in. But again, there's different approaches for people based on who they are and their food relationship and what food is in their life and their fitness goals and their body composition goals. There's a lot of ways to get there, but I highly recommend that at some point, I always believe that everybody should try macros out at some point, because it really gives you insight into what you're eating and how food impacts your body composition and what different foods are made of. And the other thing now that I'm adding to the list of what I highly recommend is going through an intentional eating phase where you intentionally eat much more than you're used to eating on a plan, not willy-nilly. You know, I'm not just like slamming down pizza slices, although I can easily fit pizza in. I don't even crave pizza. I eat pizza like 3 times a week
with the Reese's Pieces and the Oreo cookies.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me the cookie. I was like, whatever. I mean, it's like I can fit anything. Literally anything in. I mean, do you want filet mignon every night? Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Filet.
Well, but what I want to say too is that just to make your point, because I feel like if people are listening to this and they're like, oh my God, this is great. Like Sage and Dr. Yeagley, they're recommending that you just eat more food. Like, you know, but you're measuring and you're counting and you're weighing and measuring everything. You're choosing for the most part, even though you're eating like a couple Oreos or
I supplement a little bit with that. It's because it's all, but the bases are all whole foods. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to actually. That's why when you recommend like a paleo or a Whole30 style diet, it's often partly why that's successful is it's very hard to overeat when you're eating mostly unprocessed real foods. It's actually quite hard because the volume, the sheer volume,
just the eating,
and the fiber and the whole stuff. I mean, it's like fills you up, and the chewing and the cooking and the prepping and the chewing. It's like, oh my God, like I can't even eat any more potatoes. That's not true. I mean, there's always room for more potatoes. Come on, who am I kidding? But you deep fry those and you stuff them with cheese and turn them into a tater tot.
Yeah.
Now, and then you put poutine, all over the top of it. Like,
and hopefully some vegetables are making their way
that
into
is
this
easy to overeat, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're slamming the chimichangas and you're hitting Taco Bell and all that.
Yeah, that's I think we have to say that processed like outside, food is not going to be the way to do this.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. But it is a cool thing. I highly recommend. It's been an amazing experience. I'll do a follow up because as I go through the process, I'm curious how high the food's going to go. But it's cool. It's cool.
I think you'll be the envy of many.
People envy it, but it's hard work.
3,500 calories.
It's hard. I'm
You're just gonna have to stop working.
Doing this for the people.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
but
you're just gonna have no more working. Just focus on eating.
If you don't plan the whole day, you're screwed. And if you get off a meal, I had to plan. I planned everything out. Today, I planned out, and I was scrambling. I was legit scrambling eggs this morning, but then I was scrambling to get all that food in. Because if it was I miss this food, I will be so screwed for the rest of the day. There's no way I'll hit my
There's
goal.
no way you could
because you do get stuffed. You get stuffed.
Exactly.
So physically, you feel gross if you.
And it's funny that you say that because there is a thing. Your stomach does also physically change too. It does. For me, I'm sure in my whole
shrivels up.
Fasting.
You got a little shriveled up tiny stomach.
I don't know.
Size of a little baby's tummy.
Okay, let's not go that. Hopefully, I'm not at that place.
More.
But I'm focusing on eating more.
No, and especially if you have a goal, you want to, if you want to pursue a fitness goal.
Well, that's what we were talking about. Yeah,
food can be a powerful ally.
And that's where I'm hoping. And I don't know if I'm ready to do the macro thing yet, but as far as counting all but
the day might come.
A day, yes.
A day will come.
I would probably start with the building phase, though, is what I'm guessing, not the restriction phase.
Probably.
Yeah.
It just depends on who you work with, but I mean,
because I just don't want to lose weight at this point.
It's unusual for people to do the building thing, but it's cool. So there you go.
I love it.
More updates to come.
Yeah.
The message is food can be your friend is really the message, and food can be an ally. And food can, it's an interesting process to go through changing my relationship to food and not seeing it as an enemy or something that's restrictive, but really something that's helping me build health.
I absolutely love that. I think that's a very healthy way to look at it,
That's what we're all about
food
here.
Is your friend.
Elevate and thrive, baby. Boom. All right. Thank you for being here. This was a great conversation. We'll be back on the next episode with some more cool, fun things.
Yes. Stay tuned,
everybody. All right. Stay tuned. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.